How's it going, everybody? Today I'm going to show you the selection structure, or in other words it's called the if statement. Here I created an application that's going to calculate gross pay. The user's going to type in the hours worked. Here you type in the pay rate and you're going to get the gross pay and a message. So let's run it and let's see what happens. So let me show you what I have here. So hours worked, let's go with 45 hours. Pay rate at $16.52. Let's calculate. You worked overtime. Your total hours of work 45. Your gross pay is 7.84 and 70 cents. Clear it. So this is when somebody works overtime. It calculates overtime pay. So this is the tricky part of this program. Okay, that's when somebody works over 40 hours. So the message says you worked overtime. If I put something with less hours, the message says you didn't work overtime, and it still calculates your gross pay. Let's take a look at the code. I'm going to focus in on the calculate button because that's where most of your questions are going to be. I did several things here. I'm looking at all my variables. I have the hours worked, the pay rate, the gross pay, and then I have 3 string variables. Now there's so many ways to program this. I'm just using this as an example so you guys can see it. But I have a string called overtime message, and it says you worked overtime. I have a string, another one that says it's a regular message is the name of the variable. You didn't work overtime, and then I have complete message. Okay, the whole point of this is so you can see each line a little bit more clearer. So the second area, which you guys are already familiar with, is obtaining values from the text boxes. The third area is calculating regular pay. Okay, if you work overtime, you should really learn how to do the math behind how much you're going to be getting paid. So the simple math is hours worked times your pay rate will give you gross pay. That's gross without taxes being taken away. Now here is the tough part, which is going to be the new stuff that you're learning. Evaluate if more than 40 hours were worked. So here's when we're going to be creating what's called an if statement. Now we want to evaluate whether the hours worked were greater than 40. Now if they were, then it's true, then we do this block of code. If it isn't true, then we do this block of code after the else. So in case it is true, then we're gonna look at our gross pay again, but this time we're gonna look at the hours. Remember, the hours are gonna be greater than 40, so let's suppose they're 45. So it's 45 minus 40, so we have 5 more hours, and we're multiplying it times the pay rate. It's the half of it because we already accounted for all hours in this calculation. Once we do that, then we add it back to our gross pay here. Okay, to make it complete. Now our complete message includes our overtime message. And now look at what I'm doing here. This is the interesting part. I'm appending several strings using the plus sign, okay? So I have my str overtime message, which is over here, you worked overtime. And then I'm appending a string called, it's just your total hours of work. And then here I'm using a different converting method to convert the hours worked. And then I'm appending a period, and then your gross pay is. You notice I'm using this symbol here, the underscore symbol. That is what we call the line continuation character. When your code goes farther than what you can see, you can use this, and it could continue on the next line. Okay, and then what I have here is my gross pay. I'm converting it to a string, and I'm using the currency with 2 decimal places, and then I'm appending a period at the end. Now, if it's less than 40 hours per week, then I'm doing the complete message, but this time I'm using basically the same thing as I am here. The only difference is that I'm using the regular message, which is you didn't work overtime. So now at the end, I'm looking at my output, and all I'm really outputting is complete message. It's either going to be one of these two. It doesn't, it doesn't need to know. It's just going to output it. So hopefully you understand a little bit more on how the if statement works.